So I left there and moved to Hereford. And we built that feed yard. We didn't have nothing but...
Which one, Jack?
Huh?
Which one?
Well, it's actually, right now, it's at Summerfield. It's, Johnny Trotter owns the yard.
Johnny, I like Johnny.
Huh?
He's still president of the Corridor Association, ain't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Now we built that. Actually, it was Alpha Omega at the time I served. It was Alpha Omega feed yard, and he changed the name of it.
Yeah.
It's 90,000 head now.
Yeah, it's Bargee or
Bargee.
Yeah, Bargee.
Bargee. I think he changed the name to Bargee.
Yeah.
Of course, we built all the mill and everything, and all he did just kept adding pens. And of course, he had enough land there to expand, and that's all right. If Johnny was a hard man to deal with.
Yeah, he always has been.
And he worked for me when I first went to work over there. He worked for me and seeing about outside cattle. And his dad was a Methodist preacher.
I know. My dad was a Methodist preacher, remember?
He could cuss more than anybody.
That's right, just like me. You know how preachers' kids are.
And I told him one time, I sent an old kid over there coming for summer work detail.
Yes.
And I asked Johnny how. I said, how'd you get along with that old kid? Well, I said he's pretty good, but said he kind of had a bad attitude. I said, yeah, Johnny, he's sort of like one old kid I hired one time.
Put it right back on him.
I'd shut him up.
He didn't have nowhere to go with that, did he?
Well, I managed that feed yard, and of course we were building, actually we built pens around cattle. That sounds crazy.
God almighty.
We absolutely built pens.
He put cattle on you before the pens was ready?
Oh, hell yeah, we had cattle coming down.
It sounds like Johnny, don't it?
We had cattle coming. No, Johnny wasn't involved in it other than outside cattle.
Okay.
No, we were growing that fast.
God
And his cattle was coming in. I told the guy there, the office manager, I said, if we get one more load of cattle, we're going to have to put them in the office because we ain't got no place else to put them. We really did. We poured bunk. We'd start the cattle in troughs. We'd have waters in there. We'd water them where the cattle would get water, and had hot fences around them. Then we'd build the fences and pour the bunks and plumb the water and put the cattle back in it and go to town. We built that whole section.
That's a hell of a story, Jake. That's a good story.
You talk about interesting.
I imagine.
I mean,
there's some chasing back method in there, man.
It took a little ingenuity to get that done without having a wreck.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And so we built that yard that way. Well, the company that was involved were very progressive thinking. They wanted.
They put the cattle in there, Odie, didn't they?
Oh Lord, did they? And they wanted cattle on wheat pasture or stalk fields around Hereford in the winter, and then they wanted cattle summered in New Mexico and Colorado during the summer to come back to the yard in the fall.
Yeah.
Well, what happened? They had a man that was one of the part owners, but he got on the bottle. And bless his heart, he was a pretty good old guy, but he got on the bottle.
Did you know cattle was a cowman, Jack?
Yeah, he was. He was good, but that bottle ruined him.
Yep.
And
they had a lot of men.
He got to where he wasn't taking care of his business, and so they bought him out. Then they had nobody to say about them outside cattle.
Oh, Lord God.
They had 12 to 14,000 cattle in New Mexico and Colorado. They called me in one day and they said, "Hey, Jack," I said, "Guess what? We got a problem." I said, "Okay. I'm sure you have. I have one every day."
That's right.
And he said, "We got to have somebody look after these outside cattle. Would you consider it, us moving you out of the feed yard and take charge of the outside cattle?" And I said, "Sure. I'd just soon be outside as in the feed yard. Feed yard will kill you. That's hard work. Long hours." So I took the outside cattle, and we had those cattle in New Mexico and Colorado, and that was my first job, was go out there and bring them back in. And
so
you know, we had
fall of the year, Jack. It was coming up fall of the year.
Yeah, fall of the year. We had to get them out of there.
Yeah.
That one ranch we had was high. It was up on the eastern slopes of the San Isabel National Forest.
Yeah, pretty quick snow.
Boy, it was high up there. They said by September you better be out of there.
That's right.
And you know what was amazing about Colorado and New Mexico is we got 100% count. We got we tallied every cattle that we put up there. And that's
That's a
because
miracle right there.
they have a very restricted, you don't ship nothing without a brand inspector
That's
there.
right.
And just like they called us at the San Isabel National Forest headquarters, and they said, we've got 5 head of cattle over here that have your brand on it. So they were holding them for us to come and get them.
Yeah, they drifted there, got through some which way.
Sent a pickup over and picked up 5 head of cattle, and they'd been in there 2 years.
Yeah.
So we got, I mean, that was interesting to me. And
Sure.
I had an opportunity to tell the people in Texas that one time to the people in the Texas Southwestern, and I enjoyed that very much.
Man, you did.
So
they need to.
They needed to hear that.
Yeah, they did.
So anyway,
They didn't do nothing about it.
so
We'll get to that. I mean, I don't want to.
I was at Texas Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association meeting, and they were the ones that controlled the meeting, and so they. T.O. Roach, who owned the T.O. Ranch in New Mexico, we had run cattle on him. In fact, we leased the south half of the T.O.'s. Well, he came down there to the lobby. I was down there having a drink, naturally, in the lobby. And he said, Jack said, the directors were meeting up in a certain room, said, well, they need to know what happened about those cattle during that blizzard in 1957. And I said, yeah, well, I can sure tell them. And so we went up there and I was telling them what happened, and boy, that was a bad deal. Cattle
They piled up and froze.
thousands of cattle lost.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they said, I said, and of course with the Texas brand law like it is, I think most of those cattle that we couldn't account for ended up in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I said, there's a leak over there in Oklahoma. Well, Mr. Moreman, there's a guy from down at Bay City. He was the president of the Texas Southwestern. He said, well, what do you suggest we need to do? I said, I suggest that you get a brand law like Colorado and New Mexico.
That's right.
Now, he said, well, what do you know about Colorado and New Mexico cattle laws? And I said, well, I just got through bringing 12,000 cattle out of Colorado and New Mexico. And I said, I had 100% count. And I said, you damn sure won't do that in the Texas Panhandle.
That's exactly right. Who was making the money, Jack?
I don't
All
know.
them stolen cattle. Yeah,
Hell.
you do. You just ain't gonna say.
Well, anyway, that was kind of my story on that.
I'm talking about it. It was bad, still bad.
Oh, it's bad.
It's still bad, ain't it, Jack?
Oh, yeah, it's not good.
Anyway, go ahead.
So anyway, I left there and
But they knew. Texas Southwest, they knew because you told them.
you bet I told them exactly that. I really think that's the reason they have a brand inspector at Hereford, because I told them, I said, there's cattle goes through the feed yards in Hereford, Texas, that never see a brand inspector. They're brought in there, they're processed, they're fed, and they're slaughtered, and there's never been anybody to identify them.
Exactly.
And I said, there's lots of cattle go through there that are not the way they ought to be. And I said, there's no way that you could bring inspectors out of the country to see all those cattle, because you were shipping fats every day.
That's
we
right.
ship fat cattle every day.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about one load.
Oh,
They used to pile of loads.
lots of loads of cattle.
Yeah.
So we, I think that finally did some good. At least they put a brand inspector over there at Hereford. And I felt like maybe that might have had a little bit of a
I'd
positive
say
effect.
that, yeah, but Jack's got the point. How many feed yards are in Hereford now?
Oh, Lord, I don't know. But
There ain't no way one brand inspector can look at all the
no,
cattle.
he can't take care of them. But anyway, at least he can
They got
try.
that guy's right. But I mean, that just give you an example, and this is true.
Yeah.